So at this point, I'm beginning to remove the parts from the sprues. I keep the instructions handy. With a kit this big, well, with any kit, organization is key. You don't want to be losing parts or misplacing parts and have to get a replacement. But with this kit especially, with 200 and something parts that these Enthusiast kits have, organization is going to be key. I removed the parts from the sprue. I checked them off on the list to ensure that I had actually seen them and verified that they were part of the kit. And then I put them into my nifty little parts organizer. I do sort them by what color they are going to be. And I continue through the entire instruction manual, removing all of the parts as I go. For the purposes of keeping the video moving, I'm only going to show a few of the parts that I removed. The ones that can be assembled, such as the two halves of the transmission that we're looking at right now, I do assemble them and glue them together while they're in bare plastic before they get painted, so they can be painted as a whole unit. And coming up in a few seconds, we'll have a picture that will show this process completed. So at this point, I'm going to fix the windshield. If you'll remember, when I unboxed the kit, the front windshield had a big crack in it. You'll see that in the video here. I did glue it so that it would hold its shape while I created my masking tape template, which is the blue masking tape that you see. I basically laid masking tape over the front of the windshield, marked it to where I wanted it to be, cut it a little bit big, and now I'm transferring it onto a piece of plastic. This piece of plastic is a shirt collar stiffener that was on a shirt collar that I bought. You know, you buy dress shirts, they come in a package, and there's always plastic under the collar to hold the collar up. So I basically, when I see something like that, clear plastic in a fairly good size sheet, I never ever throw it away. I always stick it in a drawer so that it can be used for windshields when this type of problem happens. So what I'm doing now is cutting the plastic to the masking tape template, and I will trim it just a little bit big because I would rather have it be just a little too big than a little too small. I can always trim it to fit later on when I'm installing it in the car. Also, after the fact, after this video, I did remove the sun visors from the windshield so that I can mount them to the car directly so we can still have the sun visors. Once this is done being trimmed, the windshield problem will be solved. At this point in the video, I have begun painting the miscellaneous parts that need to be silver. I sped this up so that we could keep the process moving. I'm also only showing you a small sample of the parts. The actual number of parts that were painted were extensive, and the video would be quite long if I included them all here. After all of the parts have been painted their primary color, now I go in with detail with alternate colors. So the silver parts may have some black trim or some copper trim or red or any color that is required to accent the part. And then the black parts, which will be covered in a few seconds here, would also be accented with potentially silver, red, yellow, any color that contrasts the part's primary color. While detailing the parts with the detail colors, I use many different tools. I use small brushes, I use toothpicks, you name it, it gets used. Anything that can transfer small amounts of paint to a highly detailed area. I've even used needles at certain points to give myself a very fine line. Just as with the painting sections, here in the detailing section, I am only showing a sample of the parts that I detailed. If I showed you all of the parts that I detailed, the video would be very long. However, the other parts were detailed using all of the same processes that I am showing you here. As we move toward the end of this video, I'd like to remind everybody to please send me any comments, suggestions, or questions that you may have. I'm very interested in getting feedback from you on how you're enjoying this video series and my new video format. In my next video, we will move on to the interior parts and we will do some work on the wheels. Thank you for tuning in to Angelo's Workbench.